guys, welcome to my first properly formatted YouTube video. I am going to actually record this one personally on my console and I'm going to edit it on my phone and we're going to figure out how this all works together. So, let me get started. I am going to be doing a series of videos that I'm going to be considering tutorials on certain killers. For right now, they are only going to be on killers that I have a lot of time on because I feel like if I do it on a killer I have less time on, it will be a less definitive guide. So after some time, I will play all of the killers a little bit more and I will understand the powers a little bit better, but I am going to focus mainly on some of the killers that I have a lot more time on, like Wraith. I have Prestige 3. Billy, I actually do have a substantial amount of time on inside of custom games. Nurse, I don't have a lot of time on. You're going to have to give me some time with her. Michael, one of those characters. But that's just the gist of what the series is going to be. I'm going to create a playlist for it and everything. I'm going to try to pump out a couple of these videos right now. So I'm going to record this video and then record a couple more, hopefully. We're going to record really good games with them. We're going to record one game each. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take that game or two, depending on how fast the games go, and we are going to get through basically just understanding how this killer's power works, why you should run certain builds, or what I believe personally the killer is meant to be played like. Now, this may be different for everybody, but you know, I think that it's better for interpretation. So let's go ahead and get started. So my perk builds starts out with Thrilling Tremors, which what it does is when I go to down a survivor and I pick them up, it automatically blocks all gens not being worked on within the entire map for 16 seconds. And it can only happen once every 30 seconds, so it is a 30-second cooldown. Then the next one is Pop Goes the Weasel. So after I down and hook a survivor, I have 35 seconds to kick a generator, and the generator will lose 20% of its progress. Next is Undying. I use Undying because basically my Devour Hope, when I run Devour Hope, I always run Undying because if they find one of my totems, I don't want to lose all of my stacks on Devour for that. So what I do is I run Undying, and they expect me to have one totem, and then that way if they get it before the third stack, then they don't know that I still have the Devour. So basically what Undying is going to do is it's going to complement Devour Hope. Devour Hope, 2 tokens, 3% haste status effect after hooking a survivor for 10 seconds, right? Then 3 tokens is when you go to hit somebody, instead of injuring them, you down them immediately. 5 tokens is a Mori. You get a free Mori, basically. You get to kill the survivors automatically no matter what hook state. Undying, all it's going to do is if they break my Devour Hope totem, it's going to transfer the stacks and everything to another totem. And that is the basics of this build, so I will see you guys in the game. Alright, now that we found a game, let's go ahead and go over these offerings. So we have the Sealed Envelope, which provides 25% bonus blood points, Bloody Party Streamers for 100% bonus blood points for all players, and then we have my offering, which just greatly thickens the mist, which the offerings aren't important to the build, but I do feel like it is something nice to have as an offering. So my add-ons, the first one is called Swift Hunt, and what it does is it increases my uncloaking speed by 8%, and the second one is called Blink, and what it does is it increases my cloaking speed by 40%. So they are mainly just there so I can uncloak and cloak faster, because I don't have a lot of stuff built up on Wraith, I just have a lot of time into the character. So the main thing to remember about Wraith is supposed to be a stealth killer. So you always want to be very careful about watching your surroundings, watching where the survivors are, making sure that the survivors can see you, but making sure that they don't, you know, get too carried away with seeing you. You always want to make sure that you're able to capitalize on stuff like this. Always, like, try to make sure you capitalize as well. A lot of things I don't see Wraith players do is, I don't see them capitalize on the, uncloak. So the uncloak, once you uncloak, it automatically gives you a bonus speed. Took the pallet stun there, but I did get a hit off. So that's just like a big thing to remember, is that it will, you know, do that. Go ahead and let him vault. Because once you're uncloaking, if you'll notice, you get a free bonus to speeds like that. And it's okay to take swings that don't work, you know what I mean? Make him think that I'm cloaking real quick. And basically just take him all the way around. Now, he has taken me a good distance around here, so we do want to end this chase quickly. But the important thing to remember about Wraith, like I said, is just make sure you're utilizing that cloaking and uncloaking, because it is very important. It is something that is very, very good for Wraith. Wraith's uncloaking and recloaking ability gives him great movement speed. It gives him the uncloak that allows him to be more visible and also hit survivors. You can hit things while you're cloaked as well, so there's no reason really not to cloak. And your cloak also helps you move a little bit faster. Something important to remember is that this Leon is apparently just that guy. But he is trying to move me around this. If you can hit it, you know, you can like basically bang the bell here. And that's how you know that you're gonna cloak or uncloak. And obviously, the cool thing about doing all that though is you have control over whether you want to full cloak or not. So you can kind of just cancel it on people whom I was pretty sure was just sitting at that pallet. That's interesting. Oh well, doesn't matter if he's sitting at the pallet or not. What does matter is going back to that gen, because I know they're on it. And as you can see though, one thing about the build is that we got that little Devour stack here. You think you're immune? Yeah. Now, one thing I will say is it's an unspoken rule of DBD. Do not tunnel, which if you don't know what tunneling is basically just going after the same person over and over and over again. The reason why I say don't do that, obviously, is because one, it creates an unpleasant experience for game players. And second, it's just rude. I feel like if you're going after the same person, you don't really get the same experience as you should. I feel like part of the game's difficulty is not going after the same person. Because if you go after the same person, then obviously, you know, it's just dun 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 immediately down, 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 down. That's just boring, and it's rude, it's unpleasant, and I feel like it's just not a fun way to play. I feel like if you're gonna play that way, there's not really much of a factor to camaraderie. Because if you go out to the same person, you're also just ruining the survivors gameplay a lot. Because survivors don't play this game so they can be hit over and over and over and over and over, you know what I mean? The survivors are here just like you. They're here to have fun. Now granted, there are some survivors that do kind of like deserve a little less savory treatment. But I do feel like they are still survivors nonetheless, and I don't feel like tunneling in any exception is ever correct. But I do feel like something that a lot of people frown upon that I feel like is not talked about as much is a lot of people camp, and I don't camp personally, but what I will say is I do not believe that it should be a rule in this game, which a lot of people seem to have the ideal of, is that when you hook somebody, that you should immediately walk away. If there is a survivor around the hook, why would you sit there and deliberately let them mess with that hook? You know what I mean? You just hooked them. Why would you let them get unhooked? Then you have, you know, a liability there. So I feel like, in my own standpoint, I feel like it's more important to keep the hook so you can go after that person, get them away from the hook so they don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? Just a basic. She was sitting on that pallet and I was ranting away. I actually wasn't paying attention to that, but basically, right? Important things is that I was listening for the gen, sorry, but important things is that obviously just be nice, you know. I understand you're by yourself and sometimes survivors are kind of rude, but does not mean you need to tunnel them or camp them. If I'm being honest with you, I feel like it's always just better to be like that way. It's just never to tunnel or camp, because I feel like if you do that, then you automatically just kind of ruin the experience for everybody involved, you and the survivor. And I also feel like it's just something that you shouldn't have to do. Like, if you're gonna play a game, why would you play a game just to end it in 5 minutes? You know what I mean? Because if you tunnel, it's just gonna end the game a lot quicker. Like, okay, not always. Some survivors, they will get you for that. Like, there are some bully squads out there that they will just use their like flashlights and medkits and all this extra stuff just to make sure that you do not get anything on them. But you know, just making sure that you're not going to be messed up basically for doing stuff like that. It's just part of the camaraderie of DBD, you know what I mean? Something else that's really important to note that a lot of people don't talk about is when you're playing killer, I would always be careful with like interactions, because some people in this game, they are very sensitive and they will kick you off of the servers. Like if you've ever just randomly disconnected, half the time it's not DVD servers, it's people like actually just deliberately going after you on the server. They will dox you, and you don't want that to happen, obviously. So just be careful and be mindful of who you're talking to sometimes, because I've met some people that are very unsavory at this game, but they you know, I can't do that, because if I go do that, then that's gonna save my Devour stack, you know. Yeah, just be nice, be careful, and if you don't want to be nice, have a VPN. Okay, but that's enough of my little rambling. Let me get into the actual killer gameplay here. So as you've seen the entire game, I've been cloaking and uncloaking. I've been using the cloak speed, and then I've been uncloaking when I need to make sure that I'm obviously able to get the things that I need. Go ahead, drop that God Pallet for me. So God Pallets are often referred to as like Shack Pallet, stuff like that, is because actually they're here, and they're called God Pallets because they are basically pallets for infinites. If you can run them correctly, which means like if you can basically take the loop and use it, if you can abuse that loop really hardcore and actually play it correctly, you can get very, very, very quick infinite loops. So what that means is survivors could literally go forever. I do kind of want to know where he went. Oh well. It's not as important. I just want to get away from the people, because if I stay over there, then they're going to rescue him while I'm still trying to get my Devour stack, and then once I get that Devour stack, you know what I mean, it's basically useless. I just need the fifth stack, because the fifth stack is going to allow me to kill people, and that fifth stack is a massive, massive draw point in the game. So as you can see, I'm following scratch marks and blood here. Or attempting to, I guess. I lost him. But, you know. Okay. Oh boy. Now you have the fun part of the game, which is just running on a Devour chase loop with a Leon that has seen partner. Ah, I thought I could hit him there. Hi there. So yeah. Get off of my totem. Yeah. But no, a couple of things to remember about this game though, with the killer at least, is that the killer is a stealth killer. Now, you don't have to play him that way. I play him very hyper aggro, but something to remember about stealth killers is they are very good with undetectable perks. So like, if you run like, I'm trying to think of an exact example of a really good perk for him. You get stuff like that too. The fun moments of DBD where you see people just like teabagging their teammate. But basically, this killer is a stealth killer. So above all else, something to remember about this killer is that to play him, you should always be playing him at least to some stealth aspect. And, you know, that obviously comes at a cost sometimes. Like if you're playing too stealthy, you're not going to get anything off. But something to remember is that if you're playing really stealthy, if you're playing stealthy enough at least, you can actually sneak up on these generators. So as you can see, she didn't even know I was here, because there's no terror radius for it, because I have a terror radius. So because of that, there's no like setup here. Something I like to do is I like to slug the third person and just go for the fourth. But honestly, this game, because it's a guide, I'm just going to show you what regular people would do when they're not trying to get the 4K. This is what normal people would do. They'd automatically kill, and then they'd move on to finding the hatch. So the hatch only spawns when it's the last survivor. It used to spawn when there were 2 gens left, but I don't think it does that anymore. I think it only spawns when there's a last survivor now, which I could be thoroughly wrong about, but as far as I'm aware, that's how it works. Regardless, As you can see, the little in the bottom left, there's the little icon for the 2 gens left and the hatch. So Leon is probably already on top of it, if I'm being honest with you, because the odds of him not finding hatch yet. I don't know why I didn't close it and went to go uncloak. Okay. Regardless, right? Something like I was saying is obviously just be camaraderie, or have camaraderie. Be kind, don't tunnel, don't camp, have game etiquette basically. And above all else, something to remember about this game is to have fun. Now, with a lot of people, they're gonna try to be rude about it and stuff like that. I myself am a toxic player, so that's how I have fun. Some people have fun in different ways. If you like being toxic, you like being toxic. So be it, right? But I'm drifting off the point here. What I'm trying to say is basically, right? This killer is very strong. And the reason I'm trying to emphasize that is for anybody who wants to learn these types of killers, or anybody who wants to learn the killers and they're like, oh, the power is outdated or whatever. It doesn't matter how outdated the power is. It doesn't matter how strong your build is. What does matter is, do you like the character? If so, play the character. Because quite frankly, I've played a lot of, like, I played Ghostface for the longest time. I played Ghostface. Ghostface is not a very strong killer. And if you ask me, a lot of the survivors that play nowadays are just too good for his power. They literally just immediately do it. They just immediately basically counter it. So, something that I just wanted to, say is go for whatever killer you like. No matter how outdated the power, because no matter how outdated the power, if you're good with the killer, you're good with the killer. It doesn't matter. Like, I've seen people who play Bubba and they're absolutely insane. I've seen people who play Hag and they're absolutely insane. I've seen people who play Trapper and they are some of the best players I've ever met. Like, it's not about the character, it's about who's playing the character. And even if you don't get crazy good with the character, if you like the character's power, play the character. You know what I mean? Anyways, that is the basics of my killer guide for Wraith. And I know I didn't say a lot about the actual killer, but the points that I was making during the video, while I was playing at least, and I was trying to show off, was cloaking and uncloaking. Obviously, always make sure you're using that uncloak to get that speed boost. Maintaining pressure on generators, using that cloak to get that speed boost towards a generator that's almost done, maybe. Kicking gens while you're cloaked. Uncloaking when you're close enough to a gen that you can see it, uncloaking for that speed boost to go hit that survivor when they're on a gen, right? Because you're undetectable when you're cloaked, so they can't tell you're there. Unless if they see the outline of your character, they're not going to know. So these are just important starts for Wraith. This is just a basic guide. It's not anything advanced. It's not how to get to Red Wing with Wraith. It's just understand your power and understand its limitations, understand its strengths and weaknesses, and build a correct build around that. If you ask me, I think Devour Hope is a great perk for Wraith. I think Undying is great. Pop Goes the Weasel adds on gen pressure, and so does Thrilling Tremors. I think these are all great perks, but they also can be bad for you depending on your strengths and weaknesses. Play the character to your strengths and weaknesses, not just the characters as well. That's something important. I will talk more about that in my Survivor playthroughs, because Survivor is a lot more based on the individual than the character. And that is my basics on everything for Wraith. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a wonderful evening.